Voiceover Coffee Shop, Episode 9.
Welcome to the Voiceover Coffee Shop, where we share our morning with some of the finest names in voiceover. And now, here's your host, voice actor Andrew Morrison.
Hi there. My name is Andrew Morrison, and welcome to the Voiceover Coffee Shop, where we start our day with some of the finest names in voiceover. If you'd like to know more about me, feel free to visit my personal website at www.voicebard.com. In this episode, we have coffee with my dear friend, June Yoon. June is a bilingual Korean-American voiceover artist with over 20 years of experience in acting, directing, producing, and educating young and upcoming voiceover artists. He has also been the trusted voice for national organizations from Ubisoft, MasterCard, Blue Mammoth Games, Samsung, Amazon, and many more. In this episode, we talk about working as a Korean-American voiceover artist, how to make your auditions stand out, knowing your niche and how to reap the benefits of it, and Korean representation in animation and video games. How are you today, June?
I'm well. Thank you for having me. I'm great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. So how do you take your coffee?
In the morning, exclusively when I drink my coffee, I go flat black. No creamers and sugar substitutes in the world can replace a nice, strong black coffee, in my opinion. And that's why I'm drinking bourbon now.
So you started with a bachelor's in theater education, correct?
Almost, as a matter of fact. That's a story as well.
Okay.
Absolutely fell in love with acting in high school.
Yeah.
As this immigrant kid who wasn't very good at English and with the aspirations of I can't speak very much, I guess I'm doing computer science like the rest of the Asian kids. It was an eye-opening experience and a moment that I could find a community to which I could belong and where I could be creative and loud and energetic and all the things that I wanted to be, as well as all these other characters that lived in these scripts. It was liberating. So I knew, like right off and then, that somehow I wanted acting to be in my life for the rest of my life. I'm one of those fortunate people that have discovered happiness at such a young age. Wow. And of course, have done so many shows in high school and learned and went to college and declared a theater major with the intent of becoming an actor and director. And in my third year in the university, I had a moment of revelation as well. One more time, where I was really struggling with this duality of living this immigrant life where I wanted stability, a house in the suburbs with a couple of cars in the driveway. I really wanted that stable American dream life. Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to continue my relationship with acting, with theater and creative expression. And working as an actor, as you and I both know, stability isn't quite in the same congruent universe.
A very volatile industry, right?
I would agree. So I had to make a decision back then, and the decision that I came to, and the happiness that I could come to the realization thereof was teaching. And by then, I had written my own play, directed so many shows, both in high school and college, and professionally, and all these things. And that pivot, if you will, to education. Not only did it allow me to provide this stable American dream life, it also allowed me to stay very much in touch with the creative side. Mm-hmm. And I found so much joy in teaching that I stuck to it. Not only did I stuck to it, I had to change my major from theater BA to English BA, because back then there was no such thing as theater education degree. So third year in college, I changed majors to English, and that piled on 2 more years of English classes that I had to take to get that degree. And I was doing 20 some odd units every semester, and it was probably the most stressful. I drank a lot and I smoked a lot in those few years, but I got through it. with a with an English degree, with my teaching credential in theater, and I started working. And all these years, 11 years later, like, I have zero regrets about that decision in my life. Having taught like countless number of actors and students who have gone out of my program to be who they are now, where they are now. um, I derive happiness from knowing that I had a hand in their creative expression, to developing who they are as human beings as they go into adulthood, on the colleges and stuff like that. At the same time, like, fostering my own creativity in teaching and in directing and producing, as well as acting. Because make no mistake, teaching is definitely an actor's job
Right.
to an extent.
So is that the kind of
Uh,
teaching that you're doing? Is acting classes?
Right. So today I continue to teach and work with various voice actors in that realm. Focus very much on the character acting, the fundamentals, all the stuff that I used to teach on a daily basis, that I have a degree and a credential for. And as it turns out, it's super helpful to a bunch of people. So I'm happy to offer my service as a teacher, in addition to my services as an actor today.
So what does your character development process look like then? From a teaching standpoint?
It's a healthy balance of artistic development as well as logistic development.
Okay.
Um, Something that I state on my webpage for coaching is that the the distance between an aspiring beginning actor who have just recently discovered, hey, this is kind of cool, I want to explore more into it.
Right.
I'm calling myself an aspiring actor, to the professional level, if you will, agency representation, union, and all these things, is rather vast, very, very far apart,
Right.
which takes years of continued work and persistence and marketing, not only on top, above and beyond the artistic abilities. We need marketing abilities, budgeting, scheduling, networking, content creation. There's so many other facets of working as a voice actor. And while I probably could take a talent and like help that person rise to wherever they need to go, um artistically, I stop with the fundamentals, because that's my expertise. That's what I know, the fundamentals of acting. And everybody know, you and I both know, that voice acting is more than just having a voice. It's the acting
Right.
underneath that supports the voice, the tools that we use in the booth, in the studios. So my aim, from a very artistic point of view, is to strengthen that foundation. And if they don't have that, to establish that foundation, really find out who they are as actors and as people, and really figure out what they have to contribute to this whole industry as a whole, while being a person, while being an actor, and really try to hone and sculpt who they are and what they bring to the characters that they speak. So, in more detail, it's got a lot to do with Stanislavski's ideas, Uta Hagen's processes, and I
Wow.
combine all of this into an analogy called the Swiss cheese. I hesitate to call it a method, because it's really not a method.
Right.
It's more
Right.
of an analogy, really. Um, Something that I talk about is Romeo and Juliet. Who doesn't know Romeo and Juliet? Everybody knows Romeo and Juliet. It's
Right.
been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. And at scale, if we think about it, that's a lot of Romeos and a lot of Juliets, Friar Lawrence's and Mercutio's. And you and I can probably agree, and anybody who's watching and listening can probably agree, that every single one of those Romeos have been different.
Mhm.
Um, because the actors who play them are different actors, of course. But
Right.
what we have to recognize is that Romeo, the character on those pages, doesn't change. Those words, the age, the setting, the conflict, the story, the plot, none of that changes. Shakespeare is dead. Rest in peace. But he's not coming back to change these things around. That's written on paper. That's Swiss cheese with a bunch of holes in it. And our job as actors is to analyze and identify where those holes are, how big those are, how many there are, and fill those holes with our own cheese. Like, Romeo Montague is a real person in that universe,
Right.
right? He's not some random fake person. He's a real person, Romeo Montague. And much like how Romeo is a real person, I'm a real person, and you're a real person. And we are also our brand of cheeses, Andrew cheese, with your own stink and texture and smell and taste and stuff like that. And depending on which portions of the Andrew cheese we scoop out to fill those missing information holes with, like, do you know what Romeo's shoe size is?
No, I do not.
I don't, right? Do you know what Romeo's favorite food is?
No.
Do we know what kind of hair products Romeo used to use when he wake up in the morning? We don't know that, right? But he's a real person, right?
Right.
He would know those things. Those are missing holes, the Swiss cheese holes, and we fill those with the authentic information we have about ourselves. I'm a 9.5 shoe size, and I use just water for my hair, and I use that information to insert into those holes to make that Swiss cheese more infuse it with my own stink, if you will, to
Right.
create this Andrew Swiss cheese. And it's that fusion of flavor that we bring to the Swiss cheese to create this unique triangular full block of cheese that we present on a silver plate in the form of an MP3 that the casting directors will take a bite of, and they'll either like it or they'll hate it. but I think stinkier and the more colorful, the better, generally speaking. And if they like the fit, if they like the flavor, they like the smell, they'll put you on display and make you sign an NDA. I
Right.
guess
Right.
that's artistic, like fundamentals of what I teach.
Gotcha.
Logistically, the business and the marketing, demo production, social media marketing, content creation,
Mhm.
website design, networking, all these things are of course play a part in this balanced travel journey, perhaps of an actor. And that's what I try to instill and create a foundation thereof, and launch them off with that, so that they know what to do. It's, pragmatically speaking, know what to do with a copy, script analysis, breaking it down into beats, and answering Udo Huggins questions, and how does it relate to me, da, 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 da. And to take that further with someone else. And I really do mean someone else. I have referred already so many people to the wonderful coaches that I know, and I've yet to hear a complaint about, thanks for referring this guy. He's terrible. I haven't heard that yet, which is probably a good thing. And
Right.
I'm sure the coaches that I work with that are on the upper echelon would love to take in beginning actors and really show them the way from the beginning. But I've heard great feedback from those people on what I'm doing. I'm essentially preparing a brand new raw energy of a talent and an act, and shaping and making it shinier, perhaps, and delivering that talent to a better coach so that they can take them to an even greater height to make to fill the rest of the gap, if you will. That's what I offer.
That is probably one of the greatest analogies for the voiceover process that I've ever heard. And not just because of the filling gaps portion of it, but also because you're not going to turn curds to Swiss overnight. That's fantastic. Okay, so now when you are presenting your own cheese stink to potential clients, how do you be more pungent than the competition?
I rely heavily on who I am and what I have to offer. My one big thing that I push with everyone, my students and colleagues, everyone alike, is the idea of having self-awareness
Mhm.
about who you are. I mean, how can we possibly portray another character if we don't know who we are, right? We
Right.
have that baseline, perhaps. And just touching on the Swiss cheese thing again, if we don't know where to look to scoop, and how big or what shape of the cheese to fill those holes with, then we're not going to be efficient at creating that hybrid cheese. But coming
Right.
out of that, for me, I'm well aware of who I am, my philosophies, my principles, what I have to offer. And I'm very much aware of my voice, what I bring to the table, the archetypes that I can realistically and authentically portray in the character realm.
Mm.
Um, it's kind of going back. I'm fully aware of who I am and what I bring to the table.
Mhm.
A really great example that I bring in these conversations is my accent. It's not as noticeable or apparent as some other voice actors who are from that country, from that region, from that culture. I've lived here since I came here in '94 when I was 14 years old.
Okay.
So my accent development in America is slightly unique and eclectic to an extent,
Mhm.
where my English is very much West Coast American standard LA delivery with a tinge of something in there.
Mhm.
Uh, Most people can't exactly pinpoint it, but when they see my name, they go, "Oh, that's Korean," which is fine. But as it turns out, there's just not that many Korean-speaking professional level voice actors in any market. And Korea itself is a market, absolutely, but the the voice actors there don't speak English because they're Korean. They live there. Either that or their English language level is not at a place where where they can negotiate with global clients. So
Mhm.
I'm fully aware of my position as a bilingual Korean voice actor, and I know that I know what I'm capable of. So I use that as a leverage to market my services. Uh, like I know for sure that I'm not gonna book any Ford commercials or Chevy commercials or explainer videos for the military. I'm not gonna book it. And I know that until my accent goes away, which is not going to go away
Right.
unless I try, I guess, but that's later in the future. But I know that I'm a shoo-in for diversity training. It's not a bad thing. I don't look at it
Right.
as a that's the only thing I can do. It's what I'm capable of.
Mhm.
It's a good fit. It's a fit. As a matter of fact, the whole diversity and inclusion movement by various HR companies around the world have been on the uptick, if people didn't know. And diversity training requires voice actors or characters who are of diversity, so they can talk about diversity and inclusion training. And I've seen an uptick on e-learning and tutorial and other media where they require an authentic, natural sounding bilingual people with accents. Thanks.
Right.
Which is another reason why I got the international voice actors Discord started. I run a Discord server filled with voice actors from around the world whose language is not English primarily, and I'm in contact with actors from China, Japan, Vietnam, Russia, to Netherlands, to France, to Brazil, to Africa. It's phenomenal how connected we all are.
Mhm.
And just to know that there are other voice actors who are working in the trenches as it happens to be
Right.
from all corners of the world who have these really interesting accents and their native languages to offer. And again, my goal to educate and to aware to elevate others as I aim to do has been super fruitful for my own needs and my own philosophical needs, I guess, for my own happiness.
Mhm.
And it's really rewarding to see the IVA, International Voice Actors, IVA group, grow to what it is today. And they're booking things left and right, and I'm so proud.
Gotcha. So what are those philosophies that go into your voiceover work? And do you uphold a sort of moral code where you say, yes, I'll voice that, but no, I won't voice that?
I am a um, let's see. So the one thing that I will not do
Mhm.
is negative, attacky political ads.
Okay.
I just won't do it. Personal belief, philosophy, I guess. I don't know. I
Nice.
just any creative any projects that aim to vilify or to put down in any capacity of other people and thoughts and ideas, I just don't vibe with it. And I know that if I try to fake it, it's going to come off as disingenuous, and I'm not going to give a good
Right.
performance out of it. So I already know that about myself, self-awareness. So I just don't do it. Any religious feel, I'm an atheist, true and true. I just don't think that's a thing. I don't believe it. And any projects where I'm required to narrate with a directional intent in the context of religion, it's going to come off as disingenuous. And if I'm a client hiring a voice actor, I'm not going to hire me. I wouldn't. Why would I? And I know that. So I don't do those projects either. Porn? I don't do porn. I guess. Sorry. I don't do porn. Aside from that, everything's fair game. Like I don't do pranks. Like I've been approached by different producers. Hey, we have a prank app that calls other people and leaves prank messages and prank phone calls. That feels, even though it's like fun, that feels negative to me, so I don't do it.
Okay.
So there's like nooks and crannies and nuances, obviously, but I'm open to a lot of projects and directions, but I'm closed off. Some of them are definitely non-negotiables.
So then on the other side of things, flipping to a more positive conversation, we all get excited whenever a voiceover project comes to our inbox where they're like, yeah, we want you. But what are the ones where you just get like just ecstatic, where you're like, yes, no, that's the kind of project I've been waiting for. That's one where I feel like it resonates well with me, whether it be a message or or a character. Like, what are those projects that you kind of try to market yourself towards?
Character acting that are representative of what I look like.
Okay.
Growing up, and this experience is not exclusive to my own journey, but growing up, I really did not see or experience anyone that looked like me or sounded like me in any capacity, aside from caricature and satire, perhaps. But I have not, in my memory anyway. I don't know. I'm not aware of anyone that looked like me in the media, Western, especially here in Western Korea. It's different, sure, because I lived and grew up there. But when I came here, the idea of an actor or a society in general, to an extent, of what I saw on the TV screen and the movie theaters, none of them look like me. So when projects come along that are characters of Korean descent,
Yeah.
I'm particularly, the thing is pinned on my Twitter profile. I'm particularly proud and affectionate of Jae Yoon, who is the 50th legend in the Brawlhalla mobile fighting game, the platform game.
Mhm.
The studio reached out to me personally, directly, and said, "Would you be interested?" And I immediately said yes. Not only is Jae Yoon a Korean character of the proper representative of the culture with the language mixed in, they said, "We would love it if you could speak some Korean as well in the dialogue." Of course. Of course. So I worked with the studio to develop some lines for that character, for the trailer, and did various versions in English, Korean, Konglish, you put together Korean English, and they ended up keeping a lot of that in that video with subtitles underneath in certain sections and phrases. And that video and that project, that role was definitely and will continue to be one of my proudest achievements as a voice actor, to represent Korea and my culture and my identity in that ethnicity. At the same time, just to know that there are other people, kids, children, youth, whoever it is, that are playing this game and knowing that there's a Korean character voiced by a Korean voice actor. That really speaks to me. And any opportunity where I can voice a character of my descent, of my nationality, culture, however you want to frame it, I jump at it without that much disregard. I jump at it.
And that was the project that you did with Blue Mammoth, correct?
Correct.
Gotcha. So, what do you believe embodies the correct representation of Korean culture within, whether it's say a video game or an animated character? What would you believe would be the correct representation as opposed to the incorrect representation?
Uh, Specifically talking about the Korean culture, which is
Right.
so prominent in today's media
Right.
landscape. Matter of fact, it didn't
Right.
certainly it didn't used to be this way a couple of decades ago, but with the explosion of K-pop and Korean media in general, movies and TV shows,
Hmm.
and the infusion of the Western culture into that culture as well, which has been increasing this whole time, Korea has certainly become a very popular, a well-known nation and culture around the world.
Right.
When we talk about LG and Samsung and Hyundai and Kia, people know what those brands are, and K-pop groups and Parasite, people know. Psy, ugh, Psy. Anyway,
Right.
Korean barbecue, more happier. Korean barbecue, everybody knows. Anyway,
Right.
the proper representation to me, part of that is the visuals,
Hmm.
the Korean characters with our facial characteristics, clothing, the culture, the colors, the costumes, the traditions, all of the above, the visuals, certainly. But it also, to me, involves rituals, practices, customs, perhaps. Like I would love to one day, and this is a very far-fetched dream. I would love to one day voice a Korean character in a Final Fantasy franchise. I'm a huge fan. A
Right.
Korean character in a Final Fantasy franchise who cooks kimchi and Korean barbecue for the other characters. How lovely would that be? My gosh, I
Yeah.
big food person, Swiss cheese analogy. Where did that come
Right.
from? I'm a big
Right.
food person. And so knowing that about myself and pursuing my own happiness of wanting to be an actor, to create these roles and give life to a bunch of words on a script with visuals attached. If I can work towards my dream of not dream, but towards my intent and eventual goal of using my voice and using my work to create characters that look like me and who look like other Korean kids who are growing up around the world as well as in Korea. Like that I would love that. I would love for that to be my purpose in this journey. Thankfully, I'm blessed and I'm fortunate enough to be doing this for a living, to pay the bills and live a very happy life here with my wife and kids. But like, I would love for that to be my legacy. And I'm working very hard to attain that, to leave that behind as I retire and, sit in my rocking chair and yell at kids to get off my lawn. I would love for that to happen.
So, what are your goals towards attaining that legacy?
The biggest one came last year. I signed with RSA Entertainment here in Los Angeles, a talent agency and management company, and signing with them was a big deal. I literally bawled my eyes out that night. Just it was an ugly cry. It was fantastic. And building a relationship with them and signing with Shepherd Agency in Texas with them was also another great blessing that came near to each other, funny enough. And through those two entities, I've had the pleasure of having access to some amazing content and amazing audition opportunities, and I'm very, very excited about where that's going to go. um, from here, it's continued push, um, unrelenting effort, if you will, to move forward, to continue to be who I am, to pursue my own happiness and do things and create content and teach and educate and elevate others while pursuing proper representation of my culture and my identity, as well as loving my wife and loving my kids, spending time at home as a dad, which I also love. It gives me happiness. What am I doing? I'm doing all these things living as a dad, living as a husband, working as a voice actor, working as an educator, and these continued, consistent, and unrelenting effort that I'm putting in every single day, except for Sundays, because I need to
Right.
rest.
So you've been doing this for well over 20 years. What do you believe some of your biggest resources have been along the way in helping you achieve those goals?
It really my direction and my goals and the reason why I'm here, I guess, today really hasn't been clear until the last 4 years when I started my journey as a voice actor. Um, in the so I started acting in 1996
Hmm.
as a high school student. Fell in love with it and just went all out. And from there, it was mostly stage, of course, but absolutely fell in love with it. And having realized that acting is my happiness, of course, I didn't know to label that as my happiness back then. But as it often happens, the light bulb, the gigantic light bulb on top of your head, doesn't go off, in my opinion anyway, until your mid 30s. Maybe that's
Okay.
different for everybody, sure, but that moment of clarity and the experienced people, old people, experienced people will know what I'm talking about. That moment of clarity didn't hit me until 2016. Like I knew that I was pursuing towards what felt good, what I enjoyed, what was fun, which was theater, teaching, family, all these things. But I didn't necessarily know that that was, in fact, the pursuit of my own happiness. It really wasn't until I turned my career to be a voice actor and delved deeper into my own self-awareness that I had come to that realization that I had been pursuing happiness the whole time. Um, so I like to think that at least in my own analysis of my own self-awareness, I like to think that the past 20 years that I've spent on stage, in theaters, in classrooms, teaching and acting and producing and directing, doing all these artistic, creative things, were subconsciously and maybe unintentionally the pursuit of my own happiness. And now that I look back at it in retrospect, knowing what I know, and with that clarity in my brain, um, I'm fairly confident and confident to be able to say that I was pursuing my own happiness this whole time. And I really think that that is what contributes to my success, my journey, my progression. Um, it kind of puts everything into perspective, if you will. Like, it makes sense. The pieces are dropping into their places after getting all this white hair and having that clarity in retrospect. And it's a great feeling because it puts the past into perspective and justifies and identifies and defines what I had done, the life that I led so far. And it really clearly defines and illuminates, if you will, the next 40 years. It's a good feeling for sure. And I'm fortunate to be able to say that about my own life and my own journey in my own self-awareness. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So, with that self realization, if you were to write a letter to yourself when you first became interested in theater from your current position, what would that letter say?
I'm currently working with a number of teenagers
Hmm.
who are gung ho and passionate and super talented, by the way.
Right.
Um, because let's back when I was their age, back in those days, voice acting wasn't a thing that I knew that existed. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have Discord. We didn't have the VAC. What the heck is Casting Call Club? We didn't have any of that. And I like to think that if I had been born in today's landscape and had access to all of those resources that are available now, I really think that I would be somewhere else today. I don't know where that is. I don't know where that is. I don't have any regrets about my past or my history, of course, but I like to think that if I had gotten started sooner in this journey of voice acting, goodness gracious, I like to think that I'll be in a very, very different place for the good, of course. Very, very different place.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed learning about June's Swiss cheese method of acting and how he built himself as a resource to the young, the different, the bilingual, and the passionate to give as much back to this industry as it's given to him. If you'd like to know more about June, he runs a podcast featuring up-and-coming voiceover artists called Voice Actors Showcase. You can also find him at www.voicemodo.com. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Voiceover Coffee Shop. For more information on guests, new episodes, and more, be sure to visit www.vocoffeeshop.com.